What up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. Today we're talking about men fearing modern day women. But before we get into today's topic, if you guys do want to support me and the show, go to theaudacitynetwork.com. The link is in the description. We have on smart, intelligent, some famous and some non-famous men to give presentations once a week where you can directly ask them questions. Tonight, we are bringing on a multi-millionaire. He is 30 years old and he's made a ton of money online, and he's going to teach you guys how to do it too. So he's going to come on directly after this show. And next month, this membership is going to be very expensive, but if you buy now, the 15th of next month to be exact, it's going to be very expensive. I don't want any complaints later, because if you buy it now, I will honor the price you bought it at. But it is going to go up. Right now it's $10 a month, $100 a year. On top of that, you have exclusive content behind the paywall. A lot of my old content I had to delete on YouTube. And also, I give all the secrets of how to be a YouTuber, or maybe you're a behind the scenes person and you want to sell YouTube services. There's a lot of opportunity in this industry. It is a real job. So YouTube you can make a career out of. So I do recommend it. All right, so link is in the description. So welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. All right, so you always hear modern women talk about how men are intimidated by women. These women honestly think that men are physically intimidated by strong women, but that is not true. Men are not afraid of anything that can't beat them up or eat them alive. What modern women do not understand is that men are not intimidated by women. They are concerned about the circumstances surrounding the woman or what chaos the woman can bring into his life. These circumstances and chaos, backed by politicians and the government, has caused many men to be afraid in the current day market. So why would men be scared? If you've been in the red pill space long enough, you've heard horror stories. Men have married women, provided for women, protected that woman, and then 6 years down the line, she divorces him, takes his kids away from him. There are many stories of women falsely accusing men, physically assaulting men, and committing paternity fraud, and the woman faces no consequences whatsoever. Men are naturally cost-benefit calculators. Before we go into a situation before they go into a situation or deal with someone, they weigh the pros and the cons. And in 2025, dealing with a woman is not worth the amount of damage she can do to a man. Modern women will do their best to destroy a man if they don't get what they want in a relationship or marriage. There are now even books on how to destroy a man that women can buy and reference. Okay, so we're going to read an article that talks about men's fear of women. Okay, wait, hold on. Zoom in. Okay. All right. The women are scared of men is well known and well founded. Men are bigger, stronger, and by any measure have a disproportionate share of power. So what have men been afraid of? Men's fears of women are more hidden. Most women have no idea that men are also frightened of them, and we do everything we can to keep it that way. For men, being afraid of women is not only an unfamiliar idea, it's also a highly aversive one. One of the worst things a man can say about another man is that he's afraid of women, henpecked, whipped. Nonetheless, after a brief moment of surprise, many men quickly recognize the truth of that idea for themselves. See, if you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios, number one, you are in a relationship with a woman and you are increasingly worried about losing your independence, not being able to be yourself and do what you want to do. When friends call and ask you to get together, you feel like you have to ask your girlfriend's permission first. One of the things you liked about your girlfriend was how independent she was, but now she's starting to seem needier and making more and more demands of you and your time. Number two, your wife and partner often seems very emotional to you. You feel uncomfortable whether she is upset and frustrated that you don't know how to help her feel better. Somehow it's become your job to calm her down, and you are starting to feel less compassionate and more resentful. The more emotional she gets, the more shut down and withdrawn you become. 3, you feel increasingly criticized and judged by your wife and partner. You keep placating and making concessions, but it seems like no matter how hard you try to please her, you just can't get it right. Sometimes it feels more like living with your mother than a lover. Cooked, yep. Speaking of living with your mother, you find yourself increasingly more interested in pornography and fantasies about sex and fantasies than sex with your wife or partner. The sex that was mutually exciting to start is less exciting, more mundane, and sometimes feels like a chore. One more thing you were supposed to do with her. Yeah, when a guy feels like that, it's because she's such a bitch. Like, when a guy doesn't want to F you, that is... If on a consistent basis, he does it, we've talked about this on the show. Men have sex with anything, right? I mean, when we show how low they go, and yeah, when he's done with you, that means it's time to get some counseling and doing some like internal things, right? If you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios, I hope you will join our online community and forward this to your friends. You will find other men talking about their experiences, helpful articles, and original content all about men's fear of women. I hope that you will find this information helpful and will consider adding your own voice to the conversation. Okay. So here we're going to talk about... We're going to watch a video from Psych Hacks talking about men being afraid to approach women in public. Just so you know, guys, outside of a bar environment in my lifetime, it has never been normal for men to approach in the daytime. Now, it could be maybe I'm not hot enough, right? That's a possibility. I'm not taking that off the table here. But I would say in my lifetime, if you're going to get approached, it would be at a bar. In public, especially during the day, I could probably count on one hand the number of times that's happened to me. I can only think of 2 off the top of my head in like a 10-year span. When I was 15, I looked like I was 20. I was tall, you know.
Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is why men are afraid to approach women. So there are a couple of obvious answers to this question that don't really need the Psych Hacks treatment, but are important to note. So let's just go ahead and get them out of the way at the outset. Men are afraid to approach women because they are afraid of rejection, not only because rejection by definition is frustrating and generally perceived to be painful, but because rejection in this domain carries a special threat, namely that they will be perceived as creepy. This is especially true in the shadow of the Me Too movement. Men are afraid that not only will they be rejected, but they will be shamed or canceled as a consequence of expressing sexual interest. This is the world we live in today. But let's dive a little deeper into this issue because it's not immediately obvious why sexual rejection would be so much more intensely painful for men than other forms of rejection, though it is patently obvious that it is experienced as such by the vast majority of men. And we can consider that the pain of sexual rejection cuts deeper because, from an evolutionary perspective, the survival of the individual is of lower priority than the perpetuation of its genetics. That through the lens of evolutionary theory, an organism that lives a long and healthy life but fails to reproduce viable offspring has failed as an individual because its genetic lineage has gone extinct just as certainly as if he had never lived long enough to reach sexual maturity. On the other hand, the individual that leaves behind an abundance of offspring, ideally with different mothers, as the genetic diversity will
Genghis Khan it, you know.
Increase the likelihood that at least some of his children will survive to sexual maturity, is an evolutionary success. In a very literal way, sex is life. And sexual opportunity is both a determinant and a signal of individual success. On the other hand, while lack of sex is not literally death, it is symbolically something much more pernicious, namely extinction. This means that on a very deep level, rejection from a woman not only signifies that the man in question does not deserve to reproduce, but that by extension, he does not really deserve to exist, as his continued genetic existence depends on his ability to successfully reproduce. In this context, it's important to keep in mind that biologists do not declare a species extinct when all of the individuals of that species are actually dead, but when opportunities for reproduction become non-existent. The inability to reproduce is extinction, and the threat of extinction colors every female rejection. And this is a uniquely male threat, as there are few women who could not get sex if they wanted it. It's this asymmetrical privilege, coupled with a failure in perspective taking, that contributes to women's lack of understanding and frustration regarding the importance of sex for men. However, it doesn't end here. Not only does female rejection carry the threat of extinction, but it carries the threat of perdition, as modern man uses woman as the crucible for his self-worth. Let's look into this further. The idea of utilizing a proxy to publicly reveal private merit is very old. And through most of human history, men used contests of arms to do this. Whether in actual combat or in ritualized simulations of combat, the idea was that the victor was not just the strongest, not just the most capable, but the most deserving. In short, the victorious combatant, especially given the chaos and vicissitudes of war, was the one that God favored. This meant that entering into combat was, in a symbolic sense, putting oneself in God's scales to determine whether one had the right stuff. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message and corner, and tip me in proportion to the value that you.
Gotta
Thank
skip
you for
that
your
part. Sorry. Sorry, psych hacks. I gotta skip your plug.
Now, we don't really have that trial by combat culture anymore. However, the desire to test one's quality remains. And what has replaced warfare in similar pastimes as the crucible of self-worth for modern man, who is man indoctrinated with the ideology of romantic love, is woman. For many men, even if they would not consciously formulate the idea as such, woman has replaced God as the arbiter of their worth. This means when a man approaches a woman, he is functionally allowing her to evaluate his merit by using the encounter as a crucible for his self-worth. Can I buy you a drink sometime? Becomes, both from an evolutionary and a spiritual perspective, do you think I deserve to exist? Now, from a rational perspective, this makes no sense whatsoever. And some men are going to vigorously deny this interpretation. However, it does have the benefit of...
And on top of that, now we got this Me Too bullshit. We got this Me Too where you can just... In some countries, you could press charges for men approaching you.
Explaining an anxiety that can't really be accounted for by other conscious explanations. And women certainly do their part to play into this rejection. Did you know that the word glamour, which is a distinctly feminine concept, comes from an old Scottish word meaning spellcraft? Female...
Yeah, and you also don't know if like a girl's going to record you or something. I don't want to say... Doug MPA is the position. He's saying don't approach women in public. I wouldn't really say that, but I'd just say... you know, because some guys are really good at it, you know. But, you know, that's up to you.
Glamour, in the sense of their makeup and their fashion and their behaviors, is a spell designed to bewitch the perception of men into believing they are more than they are. And the more they tap into feminine spiritual archetypes, the more they are successful in this endeavor. So women, whether they are conscious of it or not, kind of conspire with this unconscious belief in men, because of course, if they forwent all of their props, men's desire for them would significantly diminish. Again, men rationally understand that a woman cannot possibly be the arbiter of his self-worth, especially a woman they have just met and has next to no information on which to base such a judgment, even if she wanted to do so. But this fear is not a rational thing, which is why it can't really be dissipated by rational arguments. So, how do you overcome approach anxiety? Well, like any other anxiety, it can really only be overcome through exposure and repetition. That is, you get over the anxiety of approaching women by approaching women. And the idea is to approach enough women that the non-terrible experiences collectively constitute an emotionally disconfirming experience of the feared outcome, so that you can reasonably
1 in the chat if you approach women in public, 2 if you don't.
expect, all things being equal, that you will have a non-terrible experience approaching women moving forward. And the best way to do this, I found, is to kind of make a game out of it. Think of approaching women like playing tennis. When you play tennis, you don't have to play both sides of the net. You don't have to visualize how the whole volley is going to go, and you don't have to try to win every point with an ace. All you really have to do is put the ball into play and respond. And as a man, it's your job to serve. It's your job to put the ball into play. But once you do, it's her job to hit the ball back to you. Now, if a woman likes what she sees and hears, she's going to help you. She will hit the ball back to you nice and easy, right where you're standing. Because she's interested in playing, she's going to make it easy to hit the ball back to her. On the other hand, if she doesn't like what she sees or hears, or if she just isn't in the mood to play, she's going to hit that ball right out of bounds. This will look like short or one-word answers delivered in a cool tone without making eye contact. Gentlemen, trust me, I've approached over 1,000 women. This is as bad as it gets. And if she doesn't want to play, you just take your ball and find someone else to serve it up to. On the other hand, a woman who wants to play will make good eye contact, her tone will be warm, and she'll use a lot of words to give you something to work with. Make sense? All you have to do is serve the ball. The rest is kind of up to her. And here's the crazy thing. It doesn't really matter what you say, because what you say is really just the pretext to engage in a little verbal back and forth. So you don't need to be funny. You don't need to be clever. You don't need to be charming, at least not in the opener. All you really need to do is put the ball into play. This will serve as a litmus test for whether she wants to play with you, after which point your natural conversational reflexes will begin to take over.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Psychac's take on men's fear of approaching women. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a man that's heard from women that men are intimidated by them. So let's hear this guy. This is Jonathan Aslay. But he's pretty funny. I'm going to watch this.
Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm your host, Jonathan Aslay of jonathanAslay.com, and I'm so excited to be shooting this short video for you today. We're going to talk about men. Are men really intimidated by women? Okay, before we get started, a lot of you keep asking me this, so really quickly, I always change the pictures here. They're mostly of my boys and myself. That happens to be my son, Connor, who passed away in the center, and that happens to be his mom below there. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that with y'all because I know you asked several times. I've been asked about it. Okay, we're going to talk about, are men really intimidated by strong, confident women? So I hear this all the time. I hear so many women come to me saying that men are intimidated by my strength. They're scared away by my strength and my confidence and my ambitious lifestyle, and they're just intimidated by me. I'm here to say that no man's penis shriveled because a woman was smart, strong, successful, okay? No high-quality man's penis shriveled because a woman was smart, strong, and successful. Strong, smart, and successful, smart, strong.
It's the ego that comes with it when you're a smart, strong, and successful woman, right? It's not like If you were smart, strong, successful, and humble, guys would have no problem. But it's smart, strong, successful, and thinks that they're better than you. That's usually what comes with it.
Successful, whatever it is, okay? That's oftentimes a rationalization that happens when a relationship ends. Now, I'm going to get to that rationalization in a moment because I know that's probably triggered a few of you. So let me tell you really quickly about a story of a couple women I've dated. I remember in the beginning of my journey after my divorce, I went out with a very smart, strong, successful, gorgeous woman. I mean, she made $1 million a year professionally. She was practically a Mensa, incredibly successful, attractive. Men were pining after her. And she was with me. And after about 5 months of our relationship, I ended it. When I ended it, I heard on Facebook, she said, I was intimidated by her. I don't think it was Facebook. I think it was somewhere else I read that. But I heard that from circle of friends and others that she said I couldn't handle her strength. I couldn't handle her confidence. That wasn't why I broke up with her. I broke up with her because there was a
her terrible personality. Yeah, that's usually it. It's usually it, but we can't handle the truth.
Controlling factor associated with her. There was kind of a selfish factor associated with her. There wasn't a real care for
there it is. There it is.
My needs, wants, and desires. And I don't mean that from a feminine perspective. I meant that from a human perspective. She wasn't the man in the relationship and I was the woman in the relationship and I was intimidated by her. I just wasn't really happy being with someone who cared more about themselves than they did me. That was it. But I got labeled as I broke up because I was intimidated by her, and that was the furthest thing from the truth. And I was later in a relationship with an incredibly successful woman who had her own TV show, Drop Dead Gorgeous, worth millions and millions of dollars. But our relationship didn't end because my penis shriveled up. In fact, we just realized we weren't aligned with each other. And thankfully, she didn't go walking around saying that Jonathan was intimidated by me. But that's oftentimes the rhetoric. So let me just say this. Any self-respecting man isn't intimidated by a successful woman, a smart, successful woman. Let me just repeat that. Because when we think of intimidation this way. I walk into a room with big, burly football players, and they look like they're going to kick my ass. I'm intimidated. I'm intimidated. Why? Because I can't protect myself. Or my fear is I can't protect myself. Okay? That's my fear. That's what intimidation is all about. A fear that you can't protect yourself, that you can't live up if there's an imminent danger. That's what intimidation does. Not in relationship. When a woman is smart, strong, successful, and I'm great, thankfully there's so many of you out there. Yes, it's great. And some men aren't attracted to those kind of women. Some men maybe don't have the inner confidence. They don't have the inner confidence to be with that kind of woman. But that doesn't mean he's intimidated by it. It's a reflection of himself. It has nothing to do with you. Has nothing to do with, and I know you've been convinced that it's all this masculine energy that turns off men. No, either A, he doesn't feel good about himself, or B, and this is really the
ego, being a bitch. That's how I think it's
your issue, and that's this, because of this in this video title. We don't think we're going to be loved by you. We don't think that we might feel that because you're more successful than us. By the way, I'm talking about the woman who's smarter, stronger, and successful than the guy.
Stronger? What are you talking about?
Okay? Usually we don't hear this rhetoric when the guy makes more money and is smarter than the girl. We hear it from the woman. We hear it the other way around. So let me talk about that guy. You're making $250,000 a year, and he makes $50,000 a year, and you say he's intimidated by you. No, this is what he fears. He fears you're not going to love him because he doesn't have as much as you. That's the real fear. It's not intimidation.
And oftentimes we don't even have more than them. We have more income, but we spend it, right? It's like when men have a high income, they like save and do responsible things, and us, we spend and do irresponsible things. Not all. Yeah.
It's that we aren't going to be loved for who we are, because men tend to be more visual creatures and women tend to be more status-based. Now, by the way, this isn't absolute. This is just general rhetoric, but I'm just saying mostly women are looking for the man with the bigger cave. So if our cave isn't bigger, we're not afraid of you.
Yeah, they just kind of bow out. They're like, yep, can't do that. It's like, that's what Tom Brady should have did. He should have saw that Giselle dated Leonardo DiCaprio and bowed out and said, nope, can't beat that. Moved on. That's how the men see it, right? They see you're making a ton of money and they're like, yep, can't beat it.
We're afraid you're not going to love us. Wow, think about that for a second. Their fear is that you aren't going to love them. Is that intimidation?
Women never love you. Because try being unemployed for a year and see where she goes.
Is that a fear?
Unless, you know what? Some women do sleep with. Do you know what? I'll say it like this. Unemployed and fat and see where it goes.
You're going to kill them? No. So let's stop this rhetoric of he broke up with me because he was intimidated by me. Because as I said before, that's a rationalization. That's for a lot of women, not you, but for all the other women out there that say it, because I know you don't say it. Those women say that to make them feel good about themselves. But it really doesn't make them feel good about themselves because they may not be leaning into maybe that woman was a pain in the ass, like the first one I broke up with. And the second one, it was simply misaligned, but thankfully she didn't use that rhetoric because she knows she's a high value person, woman. And nobody's intimidated. When you're a smart, strong, successful woman, you don't ever need to assume someone's intimidated by you because you just show up in your sovereignty. You are in such queen energy that you're rocking and rolling and you're fantastic. And you're going to be around other people who are fantastic as well. And that's my invitation for you. Because a guy doesn't have to make as much money or be as smart as you to want to be with you. But you got to also let him know that you want to be with him. Because that guy who does make a little bit of less money might have a fear that you're not going to love him for the less. So just simply express, I care about you. You're an awesome dude. I don't care about the money and the success and everything. I care about who you are. And when your guy feels good that he knows that you're with him because you care about him, you have a greater chance of success. Now, that's not to say that his childhood wounds and traumas might not sabotage the relationship. That certainly can happen. But when you're with a high quality guy, and you've seen my videos about high quality, so check out my other videos, wherever they're located, to check out about high quality guys. Because that high quality guy is never going to be intimidated by your awesomeness, your amazingness. But we do occasionally fear that you may not love us because we have less. So just simply say, I love you for who you are.
Cute. Jonathan all right. He's interesting. Who is this guy? He gave me the ick. Should I keep trying? Yeah, he should hire me to revive his YouTube channel, to be honest. Because he's pretty talented, but that's a pretty good video. Jonathan, if you're watching this, let me fix this for you. The views are this dead. I can fix it though. My average is 100K and 6 months to a year. Make him miss you. Let's see. I want to see if he panders or not. Should I go off or leave it go? I'll stalk him later. I'm curious. That was pretty based, but I want to see. Ask him this before sex. It doesn't matter what you ask a guy before sex. They'll lie. Like they want to get laid. It's like okay, let me keep going. The next one, this lady. Okay. Let me turn this sound on. Okay, I think I gotta zoom in. Okay.
My boyfriend today, what he's most afraid of, and I thought he was gonna say, I'm afraid of losing you.
What are you most afraid of?
You.
I just asked my boyfriend today what he's most afraid of, and I thought he was going to say, I'm afraid of losing you.
What are you most afraid of?
You.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's a joke, right? But every joke has some truth behind it. So that means probably not the best girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we should be in a place where the boyfriends fear us, you know? But that's what women don't understand, is how much men placate to us day to day, and they don't say what they're thinking because they can't, and they fear telling us the truth. Like, how many men apologize not because they're sorry, but they're afraid of what she might do? Or they say, you're right, you know, and men have to learn these phrases. We do not fear women. Well, yeah, you do to some extent. I'm going to get to this. We'll get to it. Here, we're going to get Jedediah. I like Jedediah Bila, even though she totally caps. She's always like, well, back in my, I don't know how old she is. She's like, what, 45? So like, what, 20 years ago? Women didn't have high body counts. Ah! Ah! You got married at 40, bitch. Like, I actually do like her, but like, it's just older women, they expect me to believe that women were not like this back in the day. Bullshit. You guys raised us, so where the F did we learn it from? Like, if anything, women in her age group, I think I would categorize as the worst generation of women. I would say like 40 to 60 is the worst generation ever in history. Now, I know you might say Gen Z is the worst. No. Or you might say millennial women. They were close. But the reason I put them is they could do everything way more sneakily. Well, we're now Gen Z women. They're doing it out in the open. They're like, yeah, I effed 10 guys and da-da-da-da. Where the women that are like 45, they're like, we didn't do that, bitch. Lady, like, I'm going on a rant about her a little bit because I don't want to make it sound, I do like her. I think she's hilarious. But it's like, the women will do, and all the TradCon women do this, right? They'll do every action that a woman would do if she was being a whore, right? But they'll do it in a Jesus dress, or with like, they won't be naked. And so then they expect me to like believe that they're not, right? And I get it, right? But Brett Cooper, she went to a big school and was in a sorority. We know what that, respectfully, we do know what that means. And I'm not saying all women, I'm sure there are women that are different. And not as bad. That is true. But what I don't like, what annoys me, is the playing dumb. That is where I get a little... Or the, I did nothing. Real nothing? And her, I'm like, so you waited till 40, and okay, we get our sex drive at 15. So in wanting to have sex, okay... And you got married at 30, I don't know when, but I think she was like 40, 35. Even let's for shits and giggles say 35. I'm like, so you had 20 years of wanting to have sex with hot dudes and you did it never? Never? You lived in a major city? Never? Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I know, it's like insulting. She had a tweet the other day, and I'm thinking, do you think I'm stupid? But that's why Gen Z women, they're like, I liked it, And I'm like, what an honest woman. And then she said, in my day, all the women in college had 1 or 2 bodies. Bitch! Do you think our dads and uncles didn't tell us what was going down in college 20 years ago? I mean, there's women, there was a woman from the 60s, or like, she was in her 70s, I think. I forgot her name, that woman that goes on campuses and tells women not to be whores. She said she'll go on the campuses and say, I was a whore. And then she said, I was a whore in college. And I think people did the math, and it was like the 70s or 80s when she went. And so I'm like, Jedediah, I know I'm going on a little tangent. You expect me, the CEO of debauchery, the queen, I cover this shit 24/7, to believe that you did nothing in 20 years. In 15 years of wanting, your husband might have bought that. And I'm not judging. Do you know what I mean? Like, look here. I'm not pretending to be better than any, it is what it is, right? We're in a modern society, I'm no saint. I'm not perfect either. But like when you got married at 38, you had 2 bodies, three bodies, really. But I mean, maybe you believe it. I don't know. Yeah, women had 1 to 2 body count in college. All women divided it. So I'm 47, and when I was younger, I slept with a lot of older women. They have a high body count. I'm 43, and I find the honesty of Gen Z women refreshing. Yeah, I know. At least, do you know what? The older, and I'm going to say, the Gen X, boomer, older millennial women, they had a price. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they were for sale, but they let the men know that they were for sale after the marriage. So they got married, right? And then they said, every time you banged me, that really cost thousands of dollars. But they said it after. So after they were done, they were like, hey, that cost you the house. Yeah, I mean, I need the house for all the sex you had with me. And they're like, hey, I thought this was love. I thought you loved me. Rude awakening. At least Gen Z are like, I don't love you. I don't need a man. They thought it, right? They had it going through their heads. They thought in their heads, I don't need a man. I don't need this husband. But they didn't, I mean, well, they kind of did say it out loud, but the Gen Z women really say it out loud, and they put their price in their bio, So let me get back to the topic. I'm sorry.
The day, girls, like, men are afraid to come up to us. They're not afraid to come up to you. I mean, maybe some feel a little insecure, but by and large, they're just like, I don't need this aggravation today. I don't need some diva aggravation today, because more often than not, what do? Nasty, like a little attitude, puckered lips. The puckered lip. They're tired. They're tired. They're tired of getting made fun of. They're tired of being, abused. They're tired of getting, oh, I'm a meme now. Because why? Because I looked your way for 2 seconds in the gym? I saw it.
Yeah, and she did nail this. She did nail this. She did not nail the trying to pull one out over on me. But she did nail this. Men do a cost-benefit analysis. And unfortunately, the men, unless the woman can really convince them that they love them or something. I'm kidding. But the men think, do I really want to approach women in public? They're like, no. Yeah, maybe Samuel in the chat says, maybe I'm meant to be with a Gen Z woman. They don't have crazy high expectations. Well, it's not that they have high expectations. They just have pay the price, right? Here's my price. And we're about to see how Shannon Sharpe ended up going for a Gen Z women. Also, if you put Pearl Read in the chat, I do read your chat on the website. If you guys want to do that, Yeah, like just go to the website and you download my app. We're on both app stores, so. And you get access to Shiv's presentation after this. Shiv is actually, I don't know his net worth, but he's made millions of dollars before he's 30. And he did it through SEO ranking, and he sells a course. And he's like directed sales he's a really successful guy. So we're going to have him give a presentation. You guys can ask him questions directly after the show.
Hi, guys.
And he also teaches people how to make money and be like, so if you want to work from a laptop, he can. Yeah, here you go.
A lot of women's absolute worst nightmare is the day when men wake up and realize their worth. Men are now checking out of relationships that no longer serve as assets to their life, but rather liabilities. Men are seeing the lack of gratitude and minimal to no reciprocity they encounter on a consistent basis from the other side. Men are struggling to keep up, and they're sick and tired of having to prove themselves over and over and over again just to ensure the love and the loyalty of their woman. Masculine men are the guarding walls of our society, and they've done an outstanding job holding it together, even though they've been continuously shamed and ridiculed for the very qualities that make them men. A man wants his woman to be a place of solace and refuge, not another battle he has to fight. Hi, guys.
Okay, yeah. Hoop earrings. She's gluck. She's for sale. Hoop earrings, choker. You guys already know. But yeah, I mean, she did have a point, but okay, so what could women do that could possibly make men fear them? I mean, it's not like we can fight them, right? Now, Shannon Sharpe is showing exactly why men fear women. So Shannon Sharpe, the Super Bowl winning football player and successful media personality, is the latest in a long line of men to get false accusations levied against them. Back in 2023, Shannon met a young girl at a gym in LA. He was 56 at the time and she was 20. A 2-year consensual relationship ended, during which she alleged that he assaulted her. A woman can say yes to consensual sexual relationships with a man 99 times, but when she says no even once, and that no means no, the lawsuit states. The woman is suing Shannon Sharpe in civil court for $50 million. So right again, she said, this is my price, right? She's putting it up front. Now, she's not feigning innocent here. She's like, I'm on OnlyFans. I'm hot. Give me $50 million so I never have to work again. Where the other women are like, oh no, we're innocent. You raised these hoes. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got that. That's the crazy thing. You guys will raise whores and claim you weren't one. Where did they learn it from? You know? Okay. The lawsuit comes on the heels of Shannon Sharpe renegotiating his podcasting contract that includes popular shows like his Club Shay Shay and Nightcap featuring Chad Johnson for over $100 million. Do you know what, guys? I had a feeling he was going to catch a false accusation charge. I want to see if I can pull this up. Shannon Sharpe. I'm curious what his colleagues said. I just had a feeling that, oh my gosh, these ads. I just had a feeling that he was going to catch it. There's a certain ego. A couple months ago, he was having sex on live. He had his phone accidentally went off, like having sex on a live stream. Like they didn't see anything, but there was like noises. Now, I don't know if that was a publicity stunt, but okay, there's two options. That was either actually an accident or it was a publicity stunt. And my thought at the time was a man that is doing that is either irresponsible enough to go on Instagram Live on accident while having sex, or doing that as a publicity stunt, as a way to maybe it's like an ego thing. He wants to show he's getting laid. And just the way he talks, I had a feeling he was going to catch a case. I really did. Because I could tell he's a guy with a big ego, right? And I'm not, as he should, right? He's a super successful podcaster, top of the game, Super Bowl champ. I'm not saying it's not deserved, but what I have found is that men that think they're invincible are the ones that go down. For example, Crowder, the way he talked years ago before his, divorce, you would think he was invincible. You would think divorce was not on the table. And then it happened to him. Because the men that think it could happen to them and that they're not special, they go and take precautions. And do you know what I mean? They go meet with a divorce lawyer. If they're slaying hoes, they get I have one friend. He had a 5-girl rotation in London. Every girlfriend I met of his, it was always monogamous on her side, non-monogamous on his, by the allowance of the woman, right? So the woman would basically say, you can do what you want. I'll be, And the way he did this, though he avoided false accusation charges, is he would make sure to get a text the next day of oh, I really enjoyed, he would get that text. He had a Ring camera outside his house. He was careful because he knew he was not above it and it could happen to him. And as far as I know, up to this point, he has never had any problems. But I just, when that happened, I just thought he's going to catch a case. There is no way he's careful. All right. Former NFL tight end Shannon Sharpe has been accused of multiple instances of assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery in a lawsuit filed Sunday by an anonymous woman and her attorneys. Sharpe's legal representatives called the lawsuit an attempt to shake down the popular podcaster for millions of dollars and said he categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct. To my friends, my families, my supporters, and my colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart, Sharpe said in a video released on Tuesday. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. Let's watch this.
Family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing...
It's like you choke a bitch one time in bed. He's like, He's like, one time you slap a bitch in bed. It bites you in the ass, right?
In your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans.
Do you see the humility that's brought back into his voice? When men talk like this, I know that's when life has hit them, right? When they learn two things, when men learn a poker face, right? So, I can tell a man hasn't really, and I think it's part of growing up where you got to think about how to move smart. And when I was more focused, I'll even say this from my point of view, on being right, that's when you lose in life. The men that try to save the world, it's the ego, they think they can save the world. They get toast cooked. The men that become successful and then try to save the world, those are the men, like Elon Musk, right? He built his rockets, did his things, kind of stayed out of politics mostly, then got politically involved. Anyways, this voice that he's making now is the voice of a humble man, a man who's been humbled. And now he's realizing, oh shit, I got to learn how to talk in a different way so I don't get fucked anymore. Yep.
And know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
Yeah, I want to see. I wonder if his friends threw him under the bus or not. We'll see. All right, and the suit filed in LA District court, a Jane Doe accuses the popular host of Club Shay Shay podcast of manipulating and controlling the plaintiff during a nearly 2-year period that started in 2023 as a consensual relationship when the woman was 20 years old. So remember, women, they don't want all this stuff becoming public. So whenever they file stuff as a Jane Doe, it's just more likely to be false. That's why all the family court stuff is like sealed, and that there's like, what is it called? I know it. Gag orders, I think they're called, on documents, because they can't, when they're being terrible people, you can't put a light on it, because if you put a light on it, it reveals their reputation and their character. So they got to hide it, right? That's why, honestly, okay, before a woman, this is my perspective, and this is not advice. This is how I am thinking now, but please take this with a grain of salt. But before a woman does anything crazy, it's really better to keep your mouth shut. Because if you ruin her reputation, you're going to send her straight to the police or whatever enforcement body she has. But once she's already started ruining her reputation, I'm like, gloves to be off, bitch. You want to gag order me? I'm going on Facebook and telling all the terrible things you did. I had one person, I can't tell this story because it's kind of illegal. Not for me, but I don't think you guys would know who it was, but I'll say this. He wanted his wife, his ex-wife, to basically stop ruining his life. Now, there's legal ways to do this and there's illegal ways to do this. But if you hire somebody to get access to medical record, I'll say that. And there's some incriminating stuff that she doesn't want to get out. This is not advising. I denounce. That was how he solved his problem. And so that's actually a strategy that men use, is they get leverage. Smart men, right? Even if it's like the love of their life, bitch, I'm getting leverage because you have leverage on me forever. And this is kind of a game that YouTubers play too. It's so unfortunate. But if I came into the YouTube, like this YouTube game, like a shark, I didn't come in. I came in very innocent. But I had a former podcast co-host, whatever, come out and call me a colonizer, right? Complete bullshit. And do you know what's so crazy? I was going broke trying to launch people's channels, and I was accused of giving slave contract. Anyways, if I had come in and all these people, I didn't realize, were getting information on me as like leverage. So he would go back and find clips of anything that could be taken in like a racist way. Bullshit. And, but had I done the same, right? If I said, oh, you have, and I didn't. But had I come out and said, hey, here's my list of things I had on you, problem would be solved, right? It's like nobody wants to do that. But in the YouTube world, I heard Milo has like a binder of just dirt on people. He scares me a little bit. The man scares me. And you know what? I can't even blame him, because this is some petty stuff. I know. But when you're dealing with terrorists, and YouTubers can be terrorists, I'll say that, because the incentive is clout, and women, the incentive is to be bad people, right? So when the whole world is incentivizing women to be bad people, it's not the worst thing to have a little dirt. Now, it could be dirt that you never use, but knowing that women are so fueled by a reputation. Now, I don't know. It could send her into, that's why I say don't take this as advice. This could go, it depends how stubborn the bitch is, right? It depends what's more important. Is her mindset going to be, oh, I'm going down, then you're going down further, and it's never going to end. Some women back off. If you get something that's so damning. And I don't like saying that. Do you know what I mean? I don't like, it's not nice for me to think back and say, do you know what? Had I just gone into all of those instances in bad faith instead of good faith, I'd be in a better place. Women, you're right, women aren't bad. Just selfish. That's so true. That's completely true. There are women that aren't bad people. I haven't met any. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Pearl's going to be the director of hoe reform. Do you want me to lose hair like Myron? Do you think I can save these hoes? Pearl defined terrorist as the powers can make you anything they please. Okay, I didn't actually mean we're negotiating with an actual... That was sarcasm, YouTube guidelines. Which, by the way, we don't have one super chat yet. One super. Go on the website. All right, if you put Pearl Reed on the website, sometimes I get a little distracted. Why do modern women feel like it's okay to attack men when they are vulnerable? I get men are not supposed to show weakness, and still. Is it how they are a reaction, or are they just evil? Well, yeah, I mean, we hate seeing you guys weak. So that's why women, like, the kids will get, the soldiers will get injured, and the women are like, sorry, gotta bounce. Now, I'm not... because what would we have to do okay, if I was in a tribe on let's say I was like an Indian lady, I was like on the Aztec tribe, and now I'm on the Aztecs, I'm chilling, I got my husband, and then the what was it? What was the Spanish guy that killed everybody brutally? I think it was I just know the people from Spain came and took the gold and whatever. And anyways, now my husband's dead by these Spanish guys. Well, I'm Spanish now. And do you know what? I got to watch him kill my kids, and now I got to love this new guy. So when you're showing weakness, basically you're telling me on a biological level that you're going to be killed, right? So Shannon Sharpe is leaking sex tapes and posting stuff on IG because he's tired of the rumors that he likes men. Yeah, I know, but okay, so a guy that's smart, do you know what? He's still not, just my opinion, he's going to find a way to strategize that, or, it's just, to me, too irresponsible. Pearl Reed, how to deal with women who go out of how do I deal with women who go out of their way to make you angry at work? Do you know what? Maybe we can get an HR person in here to get the best way to navigate the workplace with evil people. I'll just say it in general. Doug MPA, can you make a note that we should find someone so we can make that a module on the website? Because my goal is I want this website, and I'm really pushing this because I do think this is going to be great. I want it to be a one-stop shop for you guys for really the most useful things that the world isn't going to tell you. And again, that's why I'd really get it now. I'm going to raise the price in a month. And I don't want anybody, I want 0 people to complain. I want 0. I know you guys are going to complain anyway, but I do want 0. So on the website, I want how to navigate a divorce, and maybe things that are immoral. And I want to get Terrence Popp's course on the website at some point. A lot of stuff. So anyways, the Stutes, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the article. Okay. The civil complaint alleges Sharpe, 56, violently sexually assaulted and anally raped the plaintiff. In October 2024, anal, a double homicide. Sorry. Okay. In January of this year in LA, blatantly ignores her request for him to stop. The suit states after many months of manipulating and controlling the plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, Sharpe refused to accept the answer no and raped the plaintiff despite sobbing and screams of no. When asked if Jane Doe had contacted police during or after the alleged assaults, the plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, said he could not comment. Of course he couldn't comment. The attorney told CNN it took a great deal of courage to stand up against those with money, power, and fame. I look forward to pressing the case in court. Sharpe's attorney, Lanny Davis, said that the woman is attempting to blackmail his client and that the pair's relationship was consensual and sexual in nature, and in many cases initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Davis and Sharpe look forward to vindication through due process and judgment based on the facts and the law. And here's the thing. It doesn't even matter if he's guilty, because now he's a flight risk, right? So now this is why some men, even the really hot women they avoid, because they have to calculate now. Like now he's officially a liability to a network because he's not. I don't want to say he's not selective, because even if you are selective, any woman can do it. But the more crazy you stick your dick into, the more likely one of them's gonna pew, And some of you guys, I mean, there's like I've seen conservative Christian women not do crazy, do crazy stuff and do the same, So, William on the website. Oh wait, you didn't put Pearl Reed. I'm not reading stuff on the website unless you say Pearl Reed. Okay, the complaint is seeking a compensatory and punitive punitive damages of more than $50 million. The Pro Footballer Hall of Fame, inducted as part of the class of 2011, he was drafted by the Denver Broncos in 1990 and retired following the 2023 season as the NFL's all-time leader in catches, yards, and touchdowns by tight end. He won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, so back to the now we got that. And now I want to let me find the Shannon Sharpe accuser, because now on top of that, Shannon Sharpe accuser text. I want to put all right. So now on top of this, he has released texts from the woman. Okay. And texts of her basically initiating a lot. I mean, we all knew this, right? And it's a total mid OnlyFans model. So, okay, wait, let me find the text. All right, in one text that was released, the alleged victim, who is named by Shannon Sharpe's legal team, but is not being identified by the Post because they're simps there, wrote in a message on June 14th, 2024, "I want to be abused, daddy." On July 6th, 2024, the woman wrote, "I want you to tie me up like this and abuse me, daddy." Wow. Accompanied by an explicit image of a male and female performing an intimate act. She said, "I would like some hardcore BDSM action," though, on January 31st, 2024. Another one, "But I cried when you left because I begged you to put a condom." Oh, wait, okay. Amid the released texts, hold on. There appeared to be one from earlier this year on January 2nd, the same day that the woman said she was raped, in her lawsuit where she confronted him about the alleged assault. "But I cried when you left because I begged you to put a condom on and not in my ass, and you didn't listen," she texted him. "I don't care what our history is. No means no, Shannon." She also texted him, "I don't know how to process this." He replied, "Can I call you later?" That's the text of a man that knows he's fucked. He's like, I can't have anything on written. He's looking through all his he's unsending messages on Instagram. Yeah, it wasn't clear from the release text changes whether they discussed what happened on the phone. The messages came on the heels of several texts shared by Sharpe's team on Monday, in which she asked Sharpe to put a dog collar around my neck and tie me up and do bad things to me. You guys are saying she's lying. You guys are quite the detectives. All right. The text release and Tuesday press conference by Sharpe's lawyers were a part of an attempt to publicly push back on the allegations. Pearl, I really want to call in as Zoom rooms. We're going to do Zoom in a little bit, okay? Davis told reporters during the Vital press conference that Sharpe had been willing to pay the woman at least $10 million to settle the lawsuit, but she opted to take advantage of a very lucrative financial contract that was recently reported on. Okay, so let me show you guys what this chick looked like. Shannon Sharpe, OnlyFans woman. Okay, let me do images. All right, $10 million. So this woman could have gotten $10 million. Let me show you. Here we go. Was this punani worth, it's kind of blurry, was that worth $10 million for some mid-ass, if I'm being honest? Like, I mean, she's cute, but she's definitely not beautiful. I mean, that's like a mid, right? Thin, attractive. I mean, she's got a good body. But there's such hoe inflation right now because we're so fat in America. Hoe inflation. Okay, so again, men are afraid of women. And they're not afraid of women because we can beat them up, but because we have so much social power. He thought he was getting some 20-year-old ass. He thought he was the man. He's like, I'm almost 60 and I'm bussing these 20-year-old cheeks down. He thinks he's the man. Was it worth it? $10 million. $10 million. So, all right. Now, what else can women do? Well, there is a man that found out 4 children
a few years ago
are not his. So let's look at this guy.
My oldest daughter had to take a DNA test for school just to figure out ancestry. During the DNA test, she came to me very, very sad because apparently me and her were not related. I was like, huh? When she told me this, I had to keep a straight face because the immediate shock was just wild. Then I decided to go with her to get a paternity test done. When we got the paternity test done, it was also concluded that I was not her father. At this point, I was shocked. I've had 4 kids with my wife, and she was the oldest, and I needed to see how far this rabbit hole went. I told her to not let her mother know that we know this information, and then I went to my next oldest child. Not mine. I went to the one below that. Not mine. And then I decided to stop there because the youngest child is so young that this may directly affect them, and they don't really understand what's going on anyway. So I didn't even want to go into that rabbit hole, but when I got the information, I immediately was like, let me go talk to my wife about this. So, like always, she didn't take responsibility or any type of accountability, and she said, how are you going to believe your wife over these tests?
Oh my God. We have the audacity. Do you know what I mean? Jason said she belongs to the streets for Shannon Sharpe. The only people getting paid out of these lawsuits are lawyers. Good, Pearl. Well, maybe, Shannon, if you're watching this, we don't believe women here. So call in. You know what I mean? Call it. We don't believe these hoes. But here we go. Let me keep playing this.
I was like, are you serious? Are you like, for real? Like, is this really where you're going to go with this? Then she starts crying profusely and saying it was only one time. Thank
you to Mike for the sign up on the website. Also, Danny, welcome to the website. So I thought I'd say hello. Yeah, and now this woman's next. Her next play is it was one time. Damn.
To do it, and I was like, it was only one time. Hey, and then I showed.
But do you see if he went in like a smart man? And I hate saying this, but it's just, and I've gone in good faith too, and it's gotten me nowhere. Trust but verify. And, guys, I have too many men. I know guys where their wife was cheating. They found out their wife was cheating. They still didn't get a DNA test because the kid looks like them. I'm like, do you realize women have a type? Are you stupid? Like, sorry. And I don't even mean this to be rude. I get it. It would crush their world. But I'm like, don't you want to know to be sure? Like, don't you want to double check? Do you know what I mean? Like, and so it's unfortunate, but people that go in not trusting people and assuming people are liars, they just have better luck in the world. And I would have had better luck if I trusted people less, right? Trust but verify. That's always what my dad told me. So my dad's like, he's the best person ever, truly. He really is. And you know what? He just, like, I would come home sometimes, and I grew up in a pretty sheltered area. And I would come home and I would say, this crazy thing happened. Like, can you believe it? This person got divorced or cheated. And he's like, yeah, I can believe it. And I'm like, Dad, well, what do you mean? Like, I didn't think that would happen. And he would say, Hannah, People are people. And that's what he told me my whole life is people are people. Because people lie, people cheat, and people steal. And so you got to trust but verify. And so people that verify first and trust later, like, isn't there like some 48 Laws of Power quote where it says to make money with your enemies and not your friends? And because you don't expect the backstabbing from the friend, but you expect it from the enemy. So you verify, right? All right, let me...
Heard that.
But Coach Bill Belichick will be with a girl in her 20s and he's an old man. Yeah, he's a target. Can we just be honest about that? But hey, I mean, he can lose some money. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's fine. He's going to just lose some money.
Each one of the children.
You don't offer $10 million in a settlement if you aren't guilty. Well, he's guilty, but of what, right? Let's say he's into getting his ass ate. Does he want that on the internet? Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was worth a lot of money and there was something embarrassing like that about me, 10 million's a lot. I don't know if I'd pay that much, but some will, right? His reputation is how he makes his money. So even if there are things that are just like not even illegal, but just not like where she could disparage about his character, personality, yeah, he's going to pay 10 million to get her to shut up.
Aren't mine, with the exception of the youngest, as so I think. That's when it dawned on me that it was one time, multiple times, and then when we looked, each one of the children's had different baby fathers, and somehow that made it even worse because
God damn.
It wasn't just one person you was cheating on me with. This is a habitual thing with multiple different people that you probably don't know about. And I'm taking care of their kids. They're my kids. They're my kids. I've raised each and every one of them from a super young age. And they stood by me through this whole situation. But to think that
Yeah, he should abandon those kids. I hate saying it, but he's a good person. Being a good person in this world just doesn't really get you far. Now he's stuck with these kids. And he might love them, but shit, they're not his kids, right? That's a huge responsibility.
She said she was, because up until that situation, I thought we had a great marriage. I thought we had a great life. I thought everything was going good. I thought that we were building together and already have built together. She is a stay-at-home mom that works on things that she wants to do. She takes care of the kids. She cooks. She cleans. She does everything that's needed inside of the relationship with me. Yet she didn't tell me that she wanted to go outside of the marriage. She didn't tell me that she wanted to do anything. Anyway, after finding out the information and getting her side of the story, I let her know I would need a couple of space. So I had rented a hotel for a couple of days, and I stayed in it. I stayed away, and it was all right. It was good, but I really missed my kids, and I wanted to see them. So after a couple of days, I was back inside of the house, but I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't say anything to my wife. I didn't speak to her. She would try to talk to me and I would look away. I would take care of the kids. I would grab the kids, take them to the mall, do different things with them. And everything was I was just trying to figure things out. I was just trying to see how I could make our relationship work or see if I need to separate and just take the kids myself. Like, I didn't know what to do, if I had any like legal rights to these individuals. Yeah, my name's on the birth certificate, but I'm not biologically theirs. I just wanted to figure things out, but I didn't even get that chance because 6 days ago she decided, other than taking any type of responsibility, to have a hangout session with the chandelier. And I'm so happy I have my...
Why would he even try to work it out with her? This is what I mean. You guys are so blue pill. My
kids, because I just don't know what I would like. It's just baffling to me because the whole time, even with evidence, she just kept denying and denying and denying and denying. And I don't know if I did something wrong. I don't know if...
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is exactly the type of guy that's going to get this. Yeah, I mean, and that's why, do you know what? I don't want to say anyone deserves it. No one deserves that. But there are predators in the world. You can't trust everybody. And these sharks will eat you.
I was never supposed to know in the first place. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to not have my kids, not to have their If you want me to reenact one of your stories, type in confessions at...
Oh, okay, so he just reads people's stories. Okay, but you guys get the idea. All right. Next, woman falsely accused a man of kidnapping her. Let's see full screen.
Bristol Township woman who falsely accused a stranger of trying to kidnap and rape her is going to jail. Last April, 20-year-old Angela Urumova told police a man grabbed her in a parking lot, punched her, and tried to drag her into his truck. Police traced the man down and arrested him in front of his wife and kids. He spent a month in jail before detectives questioned Urumova about inconsistencies in her story. She then admitted she had never met him, and he never touched her. Urumova will spend at least a month and a half in jail for the false claims.
That is insane. Women just say things. It's like, we say things. And she gets a month in jail when she should get the prison. She should get the time that he would have got. A divorce lawyer says how wives have affairs on their husbands. Okay. And I'm gonna do something on my phone for a second. I'm texting this guy that's coming on after the show because I think I need another half hour to finish the show. Before we do that, I want to take some calls, and then we're going to Shiv's going to tell you guys how to get rich, so I need to tell him. Just give me a second. I'm going to play this.
Do women regret leaving men? Absolutely. But not all women. These are the women who regret it. And usually it's the women who have gone off and had affairs, because that is the wrong way to deal with the problems. If your husband is ignoring you, if your husband is constantly fighting with you, whatever the reason, turning to seek solace with someone else doesn't actually solve the problem. And then what women typically tend to do, because they're far more emotional than men, when they start an affair, the dopamine kicks in and they imagine they're in love with this new man and they just want to be with him. So then they make the huge mistake. They don't properly think it through. Logic flies out the window. They decide they're going to leave their husband, and in their head they're moving on with the new man. But neither man is interested in that new scenario. So the husband may try to convince her to stay at first. She will then leave, anticipating that the new man is there waiting for her. And frequently he's not. He disappears. I've seen people where the day the woman left, the lover left, and the shock. So then there's a double whammy, because the wife is left thinking, what do I do now? And she doesn't even know what she wants. So that takes time to settle down. By the time she's processed her emotions and realised what a huge mistake she's made, her husband's not ready to forgive her. Plus, in that scenario, they haven't actually focused and dealt with the issues in the relationship which caused it to break down in the first place. So, yes, women do regret leaving their husbands, but it's usually the ones who are shopping for something better. The ones who leave their husbands because they're abusive, because they're addictive, because the husbands have had affairs, because basically they've been treated like a doormat. No, they don't regret it. They have a huge sense of relief. But the ones who throw away something good when a rocky patch hits because they anticipate they're moving on and up, typically that goes very badly wrong.
Yeah, so that's what men are afraid of. Kids not being theirs, you ruining their reputation, them having to pay a lot of money, you taking away their future, you taking away their retirement, you taking away their house, and raising a kid that's not theirs. So my question for the caller, and if you guys have thoughts on the Shannon Sharpe, feel free, you can bring those in too, but what scares you most about modern day women, and do men have a reason to fear women today? And you guys can answer any of these questions. So when you call in, please have a prepared statement that you're going to say. Please stick to the topic. Please, if you did not watch the show or you don't know the topic, just don't call in. And we're going to try to keep it to 2 minutes or less. If we engage with you and want to keep it going, we will. I may have to abruptly end it if I see new people on the line. But yeah, we're going to take calls for the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And then after, Shiv is going to come on and tell you guys how to make a ton of money. So Doug MPA, is he on yet? Yeah, he's on. And then the last question is, what is the scariest thing you've seen a woman do to a man? All right, Doug MPA.
So the Shannon Sharpe thing is a shakedown, 100%. And it's funny because people are trying to victim blame Shannon Sharpe and say, this is what he gets for messing with a younger woman. This is what he gets for messing with white women. Like, women of all ages don't try to do this. He's a single guy. He's not married. So, and then I was watching another show earlier, and these women are like, well, he's supposed to be acting his age. He's a single, successful guy. And they're trying to say, well, he shouldn't be messing around with women who only want him for his money. What woman is he going to encounter in the West, well, on this planet, that isn't going to want him for his money? It's straight up victim blaming.
Yeah, so, he's obviously going to go for the 20-year-old piece of hot ass, obviously. Sorry, keep going.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
I can't wait for this whole thing to play out. I hope the whole thing is thrown out. And because Shannon Sharpe, he just needs to release all the receipts, everything. It might make him look bad, but the more he releases, the better off it's going to be for him. And then for me, the worst thing the scariest thing that modern women can do is, guys, all the guys in the chat, we all had that friend when we turned 21 or maybe younger who wasn't afraid to fight at the bar or at the club. They get too much to drink and they start throwing hands, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a fight. Modern women do that because they haven't been held accountable and they don't know what violence is. So too many modern women talk to men like they can beat them in a fight. That's one of the worst things about modern women. They get a couple of degrees, they get a little bit of money, and they start talking to you like they can beat you in a fight. The disrespect is real, guys. The disrespect is real. So if you ask me what the scariest thing that modern women do, it's they don't understand that men are physically stronger than them, and that there isn't an invisible force shield around them keeping men from putting hands on them. Now, if you have a lot to lose, guys, don't put your hands on women. But women, they don't know that they're going to end up talking crazy to the wrong one, to a guy that doesn't have anything to lose.
I'm gonna I don't want to play the whole thing, but did you watch the Stephen A. Smith? Do they work together, Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith? I don't really watch sports, so I don't know them too close.
Yeah, I think they've been on a couple of shows together. Yeah,
I think
they've been on First Take together.
I think he threw him under the bus. I want to see what he says. You gonna watch a little while we're waiting for people to call in?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Guys, make sure to hit the Zoom link at the top of the chat. I know that there are some people waiting.
Okay,
it's pinned to the top of the chat, so go ahead and click that.
Okay.
What's action that's happening each and every day? The Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you are taking advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. $50 instantly.
Okay.
Today's a different day because of where I have to get started and where I have to finish. There's only going to be one subject discussed today, and it's where we're getting started. It's involving some news that broke yesterday involving Shannon Sharpe, my colleague at ESPN, and my friend. The Hall of Fame tight end was sued on Sunday by a woman proceeding under the name Jane Doe pseudonym. The 13-page civil complaint filed in Nevada alleges that Sharpe committed assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. The plaintiff alleges Sharpe sexually assaulted her several times at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. The suit also alleges that Shannon engaged in the intentional infliction of emotional distress. It should be noted that the suit was filed by attorney Tony Busby. This is the same attorney that filed a suit against Jay-Z and P. Diddy, alleging they both sexually assaulted a minor, which has since been withdrawn. Jay-Z also has countersued Busby. By the way, the plaintiff in the Sharpe civil suit is not the woman heard in the accidental Instagram live stream incident that made headlines last September of last year. In response to the suit, Shannon and his legal team went to social media yesterday and released a series of allegedly sexually explicit text messages between him and the Jane Doe. In addition to that, they issued the following statement, quote, "This lawsuit, filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed," end quote. Then earlier today, Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, sent TMZ Sports a 1-minute and 36-second clip of an alleged conversation between his client and Shannon. In response to that clip, Shannon Sharpe went back to social media and issued this response. Take a look.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to
Okay, we watched this already. What? I want to see what this guy says. So,
it's a sad situation.
Okay.
Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. Works on First Take, which airs on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. He's been with me every Monday and Tuesday. We've been number one for 13 years and counting. But since Shannon has arrived, obviously he's helped the show immensely. And I can't thank him enough for it.
Oh my God, what is your opinion? He is milking this YouTube money right now. This is a serious topic, and you are milking me for my time, sir.
We've grown close as friends. I'd like to believe that. I certainly root for him. I know he's been through a lot in life. He's overcome a lot of things. And when he departed from Fox, I was more than happy to bring him on board here. So all I can speak about is what I know based on the reports. And I can speak about ESPN and Disney. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. With that being said, it's important to point out a couple of things. Number one, I was not there. I can provide no eyewitness account. And even though I got love and respect for Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him.
Oh, he's covering his bases in case he goes down.
It's him.
He's bringing up God. You know this man ain't religious. Sorry, I don't know him that well.
I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt from a
He's going to anyway.
place.
Watch.
It's because I have nothing to do with this. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know this person.
What are you talking about it for?
They're getting this YouTube money. This is 7.5 minutes of not getting to the freaking point.
Say, I know the reports the things that have been reported on a multitude of outlets, from the AP to the New York Post to Forbes to TMZ and everything in between. I mean, I can't even count the number of publications that have talked about it or written about it, networks, etc. It's all over the internet. It's everywhere. And I know that. I'm fully aware of that. This is not a criminal case. So it's not, there is no concern about him going to jail. This is a civil case, which means that he can either be found liable or not liable. The accuser in question is seeking $50 million. That was confirmed by Shannon Sharpe on that video today. According to the reports, it's somebody that he met in 2023, who was 19 years old at that particular moment in time. According to some audio that was put out earlier today by Attorney Busby, you hear the accuser, the female, talking to somebody who is alleged to be Shannon Sharpe. We don't know whether that's true or not. And
Are you going to say something, Doug? MPA?
There's 4 callers.
Okay. I just want to hold on. I'm going to listen to another minute, and then we'll go get the caller.
The person in question, again, we don't know whether it's Shannon or not, the words choke, as in I will choke the hell out of you if I saw you. And so because of that, knowing that audio was probably going to come out along with additional tapes, whether they be video or audio is unclear at this particular moment in time, Shannon Sharpe felt compelled to come out in his own defense. How we interpret that? Let me be very, very clear about where I'm coming from.
Please, I've been waiting for 10 minutes.
I'm a bit torn.
Okay.
In terms of his response.
Put it on 1.5.
Thank you, yeah.
Or even 2.
I'm like, Jesus.
This is ridiculous.
This is ridiculous.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was like, I could play this for a minute and get
On one hand, Tony Busby has sued Jay-Z. He did sue Diddy. He did accuse them, or represented the woman who was accusing them of assault, of sexual assault, and said that she was 13 years of age at the time when talking about Jay-Z and Diddy, and Jay-Z went ballistic and emphatically denied it, wouldn't let it go. The case was dropped, and now he's suing Busby, mentioning words like extortion and other things. So when Shannon Sharpe brought up Mr. Busby in that video that we aired and talked about him being extorted, he brought up Mr. Busby and Mr. Busby's past. He talked about him, going against African-American men. There's 2 thoughts there. On one hand, there's the Jay-Z, who obviously should be presumed innocent. Not just because you should be presumed innocent.
Yeah, okay, I quit. Okay, I feel like he's just going to play the fence.
Yeah, because he's not, he can't say one way or the other. He felt the need to speak on it because he's Stephen A. Smith, but he probably doesn't say anything of substance.
Yeah, I'm like 11 minutes. Thank you for wasting 11 minutes of my life. The comments, though, are saying, yeah, they're basically saying it's his own fault because I think he said something in this where he blames him in some way for being irresponsible. Do you think he's at all responsible for because he dealt with an OnlyFans hoe, Doug MPA, or no?
So here's the thing. No man, nothing justifies a false accusation against a man. Nothing. Mm-hmm. All right. You could say, oh, yeah, he shouldn't have dealt with a woman who was young. He shouldn't have dealt with a woman who was OnlyFans IG whore. Yeah, but that doesn't justify a false accusation. He's a
no, of course, he totally is. But I guess my question, because everyone's going to say, do you think he's at all responsible for the circumstances? You know, like the same way, like when a woman gets raped on the street, and I'm not saying this is the equivalent, but this is the argument they're making. Like the same way when a woman gets raped on the street, and they may say that like she put herself in a position where she's out late at night, she didn't bring pepper spray, whatever. Do you think it's the same equivalent for Shannon Sharpe? Where like he was being irresponsible? No, okay.
No, I would say because a false accusation, it's such malice, and it's so planned, and it's so long and drawn out. You know, like it's one of those things where, okay, there's only a small minority of women that get essayed, and no women should get essayed. It should never happen, right? But and a second to that is men being falsely accused. Like a lot of women would say, "Whoa, it doesn't happen very often," but it shouldn't happen at all. Like no man should ever be falsely accused and have to suffer through it. So you can make any kind of case for what Shannon Sharpe did wrong up until the point where he has to face any kind of court for a false accusation.
Yeah, I know, but we can't deal in shoulds, right? Like the truth is there are false accusations. So like, would you, I guess the question more I'm trying to get at is, would you tell a guy to not deal with OnlyFans models at all in his position?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
Especially when there are women who are vetted for these guys. Adam Levine made that mistake of dealing with some Instagram thought, and he got. Remember that?
Yeah.
And so he has to stay within the circle, stay with women who are vetted and will keep their mouths shut. Because on my channel, guys, I always say the biggest problem with modern women is that they can't keep their mouths shut. They share things that women in the past would take to their graves. Modern women put all over social media. And women whose life is content, every guy they date, every relationship they have, every trip, every gift is going to be content. And you will be content. And Shannon Sharpe is having to find out the hard way.
Yeah. Okay. Just to remind the callers, because we're going to start letting people on, the question is, what scares you the most about modern day women? And what's the scariest thing you've seen a woman do to a man? Please try to keep it under 2 minutes. And please try to stay on topic. If we have further questions, we will we'll ask them. But yeah, so. All right, we got, I can't see the name on here, but, Jake. Hi, Jake. Welcome to the show. Hello? Gotta unmute.
Jake, you're on mute, buddy. There you are.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. If I had my rathers, I'd rather the audience not be able to see me. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. We can just take you off camera. So, what scares you the most about modern day women?
What scares me the most about modern day women is just that, I mean, the floodgates have been opened. So we're living in a certain, socio-political climate where, any word that, a female speaks, especially against a man, is taken with the utmost seriousness. And, any little thing can actually become a big thing under a microscope. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can you give me an example?
Okay. Let me get, kind of specific. Okay. I don't want to say where I live or what company I work for or anything like that, but
sure.
Where I work, I mean, I've been here for north of 20 years. And I now work for the Human Resources Department. And I honestly think that within the last 5 years, I've seen a major shift in the workforce culture. And I honestly think that a lot of it has to do with the arrival of Gen Z into the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that employees reporting each other to HR has dramatically gone up from when I first started working.
Is this mainly women?
Yes.
Or men or both?
Mostly women, especially young women. Young women love taking people to HR.
So who do you see reporting, women reporting more? Other women or men? Because 80% of workplace bullying is women bullying other women.
So, all right. I want to tell you about when I first started working for this company. I was fresh out of high school. And the majority of the workforce at that time was Gen X and baby boomers. I was a very rare millennial in the workforce at that time. And I was a younger millennial because I was fresh out of high school. And there was definitely bullying back then. There was catfighting and workplace drama and all that. But back in those days, adults were like adults, and they dealt with things on their own, and they tried to keep the authorities out of it if they could. Things had to really boil over before the authorities got involved. But nowadays, they kind of go to the authorities for any little thing. In recent years, there was a young lady that we hired, and I was a part of her onboarding process because now I'm a part of the human resources department. And within her first 2 months or something like that, she took her entire team to HR. She was the only female on the team, and she took them to HR just because they were talking about what kinds of women they were interested in dating and stuff like that. And it turned out to be a nothing burger. Like none of the men in her department got into trouble, but they were talking about that subject matter, and she took it to HR, and HR had to call them all and interview them for their investigation.
Wow. And so you've just seen an increase in stuff like that. Have you seen a decrease in what kind of company is it? Is it like corporate or what?
We are owned by a major corporation, and we have multiple, dozens of sites around the world.
Do you think that men are quitting because of this? Or choosing
yes
not to go
no.
into it? But sorry, keep going.
No, please continue with your question because it's a complicated answer, and I'd like for the question to grant more specifics so I can.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you've seen a decrease in men applying for the roles and leaving. And although you may not know, if you would, from your perspective, speculate that it's because of the human resources stuff.
Well, going back to the socio-political climate that we live in, young men are not eager to take charge and take the lead anymore. Just a couple of years ago, I was talking to a manager of a certain department, and that department had an influx of new employees, and they were hoping that one of the relatively newer employees was going to rise to the occasion and work hard to basically learn the job well enough to someday take on a leadership position among their peers. And the manager told me, this young man, he's not going to rise to the occasion. I can't count on him. I'm waiting for them to hire somebody else that will, because historically that younger man would have probably realized what opportunity he had on his plate, and he would have. But this younger generation, they're not really cut from the same cloth, because a lot of it has to do with the fact that the younger men, were tamed very early on. and they don't take things as seriously as they should, or at least not as seriously as the generation of young men before them would have.
Got it. Doug MPA, do you have any other questions?
No, I just say, young men are responding to the current climate. One of the best quotes I've heard was, the 20th century was women rewriting the social rules of the West, and the 21st century is men responding.
Yeah.
So you see men, they're not go-getters and they're not out there to try to conquer the world. Well, why would they? Why? The future is female. Women, they don't want to have kids, or they don't want to get married. So you know what? Men, we just have to check out, and if women want to try to run things, hey, go for it.
Good luck.
I do have one optimistic thing to put out there, if possible.
Sure.
One thing that I will say is that a lot of women are out there acting as if they can get away with murder. And what's happening is that they're actually effing around and finding out. And I think that it's really easy to see this behavior happen, like where they act as if they can get away with murder. And it just requires some patience to see them find out at the end of the day. Like, I have a couple of brief anecdotes that I'd like to share with you,
Sure.
and just to kind of shed some context on it.
Mm-hmm.
You got like one more minute, and then we got to move to the next caller.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So there have been some incidences where young women who are intelligent, who are talented, I've seen them really pull some crazy things where they'll come to work drunk or something like that, and they get dealt with properly in response to these things. So it really looks pessimistic, when you see the behavior that we often see, but it's going to catch up eventually. Once the floodgates open, I mean, you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's all I really want to say.
The only solution
I hope that
to
made
feminism is more feminism. So women getting the equality that we asked for. Thanks for calling in, Jake.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Let's go to the next caller.
I mean, you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's all I really want to say.
All right, guys. You gotta make sure you guys turn off the YouTube link when you guys come on. Fight Sport Talk, if you don't mind unmuting.
Hey, Pearl, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Are you in London? Or is that an Australian?
I'm not. I'm calling from New Zealand.
I was going to say, is that an Australian?
Okay,
yeah, I did for a second.
I get mistaken for being... I get mistaken for being Australian a lot. Anyway, thanks for having me on. My example about what's most scary about modern women, I would say it's how modern men are weak and buy into the feminist propaganda and have made it easy for them to be walked over, and women therefore they don't have challenges in front of them when it comes to overtaking men. And if that answers the initial question, I can give an example from the other day.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, even though on my channel I cover combat sports, which has been dumbed down repeatedly since they brought women into high-profile competitions. I was in a debate the other day with a couple of male feminists, and it reminded me of my college days. Not college, university days, where this was like mid-2010s, so this was during the I'm with her, future is female, all that garbage. And these men were just, basically for the entire 2 hours I was there, their argument was, well, if a woman is stronger than me, then, I'll let them lead. And as somebody who does not identify as politically conservative, but my values are conservative, I was saying the only logical point, which is no, men should be strong enough. If you're not, you're pathetic. But their argument was, well, maybe the woman is stronger than me. And it's like, no, the only reason why we are having this debate that women are stronger than men, better leaders, can be girl bosses as well as mothers, or they can neglect nurturing their children, in order to pursue careers. The only reason we are having these arguments is because weak men like you bought into the propaganda. Because just very quickly, in New Zealand, we had a feminist prime minister. I'm not sure if you knew about her. Her name was Jacinda Ardern. And
yeah, I've heard about her.
Right. Excuse me. But yeah, just for the audience who don't know, she, and I was beyond repulsed by this, she ended up having a child shortly after she was elected the first time, and she brought that child as a baby to the United Nations. I mean, that is incredibly repulsive, and she was cheered on. And I was in university during these early years, and I saw how people were buying into this. Men were rubbishing people like me who called this out for being absolutely horrible and saying, no, you shouldn't do this. But again, going back to your initial question, Pearl, about what is most scary about modern women, I think it's just how weak and subservient men are. Because again, in this debate I was having, which will be on my channel, Fight Sport Talk, the guys who are on the opposite side, they keep making the argument, well, if women are stronger than men, then yeah, we should follow them. It's like, no. The only reason men even think it's an option to follow women and be the subservient ones is because you bought into propaganda that has weakened you, and because they've become weak, I can't actually blame the women for saying, well, these men are so weak, we should walk all over them. It's like, if men were strong and pushed back on this, then women would have no other option but to follow men. But again, a lot of my generation and the generation after are becoming so weak. Actually, I can't really blame the women for walking over them.
Got it. Well, any questions, Doug MPA?
So next time you're in a room full of guys like that, Top G said that feminism is the only belief system that has perpetuated through our culture that can't be physically defended by the people that benefit from it the most. Like, men have to push feminism for it to exist because women can't physically defend it. So it's literally these guys are talking about. And then two, these men, they will get audited. Most men, especially those who try to become successful, life is going to audit you and try to see what you're made of, and you're either equipped to be able to face it or you're not. And then one last thing, congrats on Volkanovski bringing the belt back to New Zealand.
Volkanovski is an absolute badass. And I guess just one final point before because my entire arguments, I'm not religious, so my entire arguments during this debate was tradition, what's better for society, and eventually we ended up getting into a real traditional view, which is women shouldn't vote, and I said unequivocally women shouldn't be. And by the way, in New Zealand, we were the first country to give women the right to vote, and I said, well, that was a horrible decision, we should take that away. And immediately everybody on the panel flipped out about this, and it's because they've been brought up with this indoctrination. But again, if they 100% agree with what you said, Doug, if men weren't so gullible to believe that women should be voting, then the women wouldn't be able to push this. But I mean, even in my early 20s, I was apolitical at the time, but there was some part of me that just knew actually women shouldn't be voting. Women should not be leaders. Men are the leaders. So I knew what was right and what was wrong. But so the people who were brought up thinking it's all right have perpetuated this, and that's again what's scary. But anyway, thanks for having me on, guys, and yeah, all
thanks
the best.
for calling in. All right, who we got next? I can't comment on that topic anymore on my channel.
I like how you dodged that one.
Okay, Gabe, what's going on? Try to keep it 2 minutes or less. What are you most afraid about modern day women? And what's the scariest thing? Hi, Gabe. How's it going?
Oh, hello, Pearl.
Yeah. Hi, Gabe.
Pearl?
How's it going?
Good. So 4 things I would like to point out that
Okay.
to answer your question is one that I believe is very scary is the population decline that is often talked about in the red pill space. Two, I believe the STD, the growing STD rate that is affecting that, hence all the promiscuity that is often talked about in this space. Three, paternity fraud. That's very scary. I refuse to raise another man's child. And then four, the false accusation thing, which I believe is one of the worst components of all of this. Any examples that I have personally seen is having been called nasty names, which a lot of men with autism are often mislabeled and conveniently misinterpreted as creepy and all those other nasty names like that. I think you should look up this documentary that was recently released called Fist Bump, where a local student here in SoCal with autism named Marcus Knight was basically expelled from his community college, I believe in Orange County, but I could be wrong, just for simply asking a girl who was notorious for being a strumpet for a fist bump, a selfie, and the administration basically put him through the ringer. He sued them all civilly in court, won, it got overturned. And yeah, that administrator is still even working, not for that school, but still in business, basically.
Okay. And wait, so what did the guy do to the girl? Like, he approached her? Or like, what did he say? I think I missed that. Like, what did he say to the girl that?
So I knew about this story long before I even knew that the documentary that was just released in February. He supposedly was actually very popular at his school, Marcus Knight, and on a couple of occasions he would ask for random like selfies with classmates or friends at
Oh, okay. So he
school.
asked her, like, a girl for a selfie and she freaked out.
Her and another separate girl on separate incidences or whatever, and they basically decided because they didn't want to be looked at as strumpets, basically, and because they, had discriminatory feelings about men with autism and other physical disabilities, which this guy has, they decided to basically falsely accuse him of the SA word.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's really unfortunate that happened to him over a selfie. It's ridiculous. Doug MPA, do you have any other questions for him? I
do not. You just gotta be careful out there, guys.
Gotta be careful.
Gotta be careful.
Thanks, Gabe.
All right. Bye.
All right, guys. I'm going to try to get through a couple more callers than Shiv's coming on. So we got to just try to keep it to 2 minutes or less. Lasan? I don't know if I said your name.
That's correct.
Oh, I did. Okay, cool. What scares you the most about modern day women? And what's the scariest thing you've ever seen a woman do to a man?
So, scariest thing about modern day women. I think the hardest thing, I don't even know if it's like scary per se, but you kind of be scary, but also tough, is choosing. Like when you put everybody on the same scale, or you look at everybody the same, you're not judging anybody, you have some type of like unconditional love, then you got to make a choice. And choosing one means letting go of the rest. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. So when you choose to be with this person, whether they've been with all these people or not, or whether you choose to be with this person and they're a liar, that could be somewhat scary because you're choosing to love that person throughout all of that. And, in the midst of all of that, it's just a hard thing to really step into, to fully commit, I think, when you're dealing with people today because the values are different when it comes to dating. And I would say scariest thing that I've seen happen to men would be the fact that a lot of time can be lost in transition with things like false accusations and things like that. Like one of my favorite actors is Johnny Depp, right? And there was that whole case and everything. Me and some guys were talking today about there potentially being like another movie or something coming out. Things like even with Will Smith, him trying to defend his wife or doing something like not to like excuse anything that has happened, right? But it's just like, dang, in the defense of women or in relationships with women, when things go wrong, a lot of other things get delayed. So just like the loss of creation in terms of being distracted, missing out on opportunities, because you decided to choose love. And I think that's one of the scariest things that I've seen with men. Like all of that takes away from some good things that are going on. Yeah, and then I would say like one of the other things is just not having men in the household with women nowadays. It's like women doing all the things for themselves, raising themselves, and then men being taken out of the household, whether that be because of false accusations or an arrest or crime or just like the loss of a relationship is kind of, I mean, I've seen that, and that really tears a home apart, like divorces and all these things that just completely get men out of the picture. So yeah, those are the two things for me. And happy Earth Day, bro, for real.
I didn't know it
So,
was Earth Day, but okay. Yeah, no, that,
yeah.
that, that makes total sense. Doug MPA, do you have any questions for him?
I like the first point that he brought up about what women can do to a man, because a man's primary purpose is to uh, is to achieve greatness, gather resources, protect and provide, right? And to have that taken away because of your interaction with a woman would be insane.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Especially just real fast, there was a Seahawks player. Him and his wife got in a fight. He transferred from the Seahawks to the Baltimore Ravens, had a $15 million contract with the Ravens for 1 year. And him and his wife got in a fight. He went over to his twin brother's house, who's also a football player. And they they are having a party at his brother's house with a bunch of strippers and whores, right? And they are posting on Snapchat them surrounded by all these women, right? So the wife's friends saw that and went to the wife and said, "Hey," so she got a pistol, and a bunch of her friends went over to the house and started waving a, a gun around, pistol whipping people, grabbed the knife, and when the police came, the guy had gotten the gun out of his wife's hand, and she was chasing him around the car, like you do when you're kids, with a knife. And the police come up. He's in his drawers. So they arrest her. Anyway, all this crap happens. He loses his $15 million contract with the
Oh
Baltimore
my
Ravens. And
gosh.
now she doesn't work. She doesn't work.
Look at
$15
his
million
face.
gone. All because she got mad. It's just like, how
It's almost like
are you?
that's gotta
Are
be
you?
the most painful thing is like
Go ahead.
what a guy could have been. Do you know what I mean? Like how many women was a guy off to like greatness and then some woman just ruined it? Like
Yeah, 100%. Women will, even the woman lying next to you, the woman married to you, who has your last name, who's supposed to be supporting you in your success. If she gets wound up too much, she can destroy your ability to be able to provide as a man, just because she got angry.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So like I think it takes a really strong person to deal with really strong people in that way. So if a majority of the relationship you're doing a lot of like damage control and stuff like that, that can definitely take away from certain things that you're trying to do. And I think that's kind of scary for for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's like you want to be in a relationship, you want to do all the things, but everybody's kind of might be on the same type of time of just like not really being ready to do all of that stuff. So yeah, you got to be really ready for all of that and what makes a person ready, you know?
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in. I got to move on to the next caller. Got a lot today.
Call in anytime.
Yeah, call in anytime, all right? All right, who we got next? I think we can do one more. Okay, cool. Of course, Dustin, what's going on?
Let's go.
Another day, another dollar.
All right, I'm ready to laugh. All right, what scares you the most about modern women?
Oh, no. Yeah, actually, when I saw this question, I was like, these are like real sentimental questions, you know? And what scares me most about modern women is that they're always looking for the next best thing. Like, you can date a woman and she can be like happy, you know, but like she'll be just home alone at night maybe while you're dating her, and she'll be like, oh well, it's like Becky over here has a guy that does this for her. Why doesn't my guy do that? And then she's gonna throw away everything that you did for her because she didn't get this like one type of treatment. And that's just what scares me. Like, I mean, men probably do that too, but women really, they don't know how to like.
Men stay with fat
women.
Women
Can have everything that they want.
I don't know if they do it like that. Men stay with fat women that don't sleep with them. I don't know if they do it the same. Maybe if they could, it would be different. But in this society, that's not what I've seen.
I shagged a fat chick, and it was because it was Halloween, and I knew
you guys do it. Like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew. That's what I keep saying.
Yeah,
I'm like, someone in the chat's doing it. I'm glad you're being honest.
Yeah, she was. I used to keep little mementos from the women I sleep with in college, and that fat chick, I kept her Thor hat. So it was worth it.
So what's the worst thing you've seen a woman? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna ask him the next question. So,
what's the worst thing that you've seen a woman do to a guy?
Damn, this sun is something fierce today. Well, it's actually my ex, and I was like a little, you know, I was a little simp back then, and I had no idea. I thought I was just an idiot. But before she dated me, I was friends with her for 12 years, and she actually dated one of my good buddies. And she made him think that the whole relationship was his fault, and he ended up going to counseling because he thought he was going to kill himself, and over that breakup. And for some reason, I decided I should put a baby in her. But probably now that I know her, seeing what she did to him, that was the worst thing. Like, this guy was crippled and his life was on hold for like 2 years. And now he's very successful. He has a beautiful fiance.
How did she do
They're
that?
calling you Daddy Dustin in the chat.
Yeah, dude, I am Daddy Dustin, man.
Okay.
That's right. Go ahead.
Wait. So what did she do? What did she do to make him do that? How did she get him? How did she mess him up that much? Psychological manipulation or what?
Yeah. So when nothing could ever have been her fault, and she would say things like if you, and it was so sad. So if you get into an argument with her, she's like, I'm sorry, I have CPTSD. And I don't know what that means. It's just letters, you know? I'm like, what is that? But you take that and you're like, okay, this is an excuse. She's like had a rough life, and she did have a rough life. But that's the excuse all the time. And you can't like attack her like, oh, like, I mean, I started to. I was like I'd be like, shut up. But he's a really nice guy, and he was like, what does this mean? So then he starts going to therapy, and he's like, I just love her so much. And then he comes home, and he would be like, why are the dishes not done? Why is the house not clean? Like, you don't even have to work. He was like taking care of her, and she would be like, well, I feel like we don't have enough love in our relationship. So then he starts to work less so that he can be with her more. And then she's still not cleaning. She's still not cooking. She's not doing anything. And then it's another thing wrong and another thing wrong. And the real issue is just that she's miserable and she doesn't want to be with him. She just needed a place to stay. And he is a really good looking guy. Like, golly, he's like, I wish I looked like him. God. Yeah. But he was just a good looking guy that she got to take advantage of. And it just stinks because he didn't really deserve that.
Wow. What else was I gonna... Oh, I want to read the chat really quick. It says, women are incentivized to accuse men, and give them patience while they F you over in the legal system. Great idea. That's what Joel says. Well, therapy was his first mistake. That's what they said.
No, it was like, I would write down I journal, because your other question was, should men be afraid? And I don't think men shouldn't be afraid of women, because women can't do anything. Like, what's a woman gonna do to you? You know, like, oh, she's gonna have sex with you. Oh, like, it's not that big of a deal. But men should be afraid of not being like a good man, because the legal system is gonna screw you over if you're like not a good guy. Because I was in the legal system and I journaled a lot, so I had documentation of all the arguments and everything, and the courts didn't have anything against me because I was just a good guy. Mm-hmm. So I now have 50 custody of my kid, and I didn't need a lawyer, and I filed all my motions. But men should probably be more afraid of like dying alone than they should be of women.
I think that men should be afraid of not being able to deal with when life audits them. Because life's going to come for you if you're a man. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And the younger generation, society is teaching them that life should be easy. There's no such thing as competition. You know, there are no problems. And if there are problems, you should go run and tell somebody or talk about your feelings. No. Life is going to audit you as a man, and there's too many young men out there that aren't equipped to deal with it when that happens.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in, Dustin. It's a pleasure as always.
Oh, it's always nice to hear you guys. I'll see you next time.
Thanks. All right, we're going to bring up Shiv now. And I'm going to let him answer the question because I think he'll have some funny things to say before he does his presentation. So if you guys don't know, Shiv is a very successful, I think he's like 30. He's a young guy, and he's made a ton of money on the internet. And he's going to teach you guys how to do it. So I figure, you know, we're going to eventually quit the live on YouTube, and we're just going to go to the website. So make sure you guys go. The link's in the description. His handle is, he told what it was. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. So what's going on, Shiv?
Bro,
you got to unmute.
So quick. Can you read the last super chat?
Oh, there's a super chat. I missed it. On the website, or which one? YouTube? Okay.
On YouTube.
Today's men are a bunch of wimps. Tell these women to pound sand. Stick with pros, and at least they're stick with the professionals. At least they're honest about who they are. I feel bad for guys today. Back in my day, we were about having fun, men and women. Thank you, John. All right, Shiv. I wanted you to answer the topic before we got into the business stuff. Did you hear it or no?
Can you repeat it one more
Yeah,
time?
you're totally fine. What scares you the most about modern women?
I think what scares me the most is like because of social media or whatever, the fact that they could live this like completely double life, right? Like they could have a secret OnlyFans, or they could be, secretly like, you know, dating 10 random dudes on the phone or whatever. Like I just feel like with social media, or they have an Instagram account that they go sell their feet pics or sell their spit or something. So
That's
I
a
think
good one, Shiv.
yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah, that's pretty crazy to me.
And what's the scariest thing you've seen a woman do to a man?
Scariest thing. I mean, I had an ex business partner that his and this was his brother, but basically his wife was cheating on him with the personal trainer, and they had 3 kids, and this was going on for 2 years. In fact, probably shouldn't say this on the internet, but I will anyway because it's funny now and it's been a long time. But I'm the reason that like I basically got into his wife's iCloud. Well, I'm not going to say the word hacked, but I got into his wife's iCloud and showed 2 years of
Let's
receipts.
go.
And literally, I printed out 80 pages of her texting. She put it as like a girl contact, like Emily, but it was clearly the personal trainer. And it was like they were exchanging nudes all the time, and they were like texting about how like he would sneak into their house and like, they would have sex in the master bedroom of this guy's house. So yeah, 2 pages of documents. And so when obviously like he went home and showed her this and goes, I'm getting a divorce, she was training their 5-year-old kid to make a story in court that he hits them, which is not even close to true. He's a great guy. He used to be a school teacher, like one of the best people. And he ended up becoming rich, owning a very successful hair salon styling company that everyone would know, but I'm not going to say the name. And yeah, it was just a really bad situation because like the mom who cheated was like had no ammo left in court. And so she was trying to like make him lose custody of the kids. So he like lost custody of his kids for 1.5 years. So that was like the most horrific thing I've ever saw. And that was with literally 80 pages of evidence that she was 100% in the wrong. Like it was black and white, and he was okay. And then he was ordered to pay her $34,000 a month for 20 years.
Oh, 34
plus half his net worth at that point. Right. So yeah, that was.
So, okay, wait. So were you the one that broke it? Like, were you the one that found out about the trainer first, or did he come to you and say, look, she's banging somebody, help me feel like,
Yeah. So it was my business partner at the time. He was like, dude, something's wrong with my brother's wife. Like he goes, something's just strange with her. And I don't know if she's cheating, but like I want to find out. And I know you're really savvy with Apple stuff. And like, like I know, because like his kid in the past, like kept typing in the wrong passcode on his wife's phone. So like, when the iPhone, if you keep typing in the wrong password, it'll eventually lock for like 3 days. I don't know if people know that, but like eventually. And so I figured out a way to like instantly unlock the phone anyway. And so he was like, oh dude, you're like, you figured out a way to always bypass all these security systems with Apple. Do you think there's a way you can get into her phone? And I was like, oh, I know I can get into her phone. So so I spent an entire day. It was on like Super Bowl Sunday too. And the entire time while they're watching the game, they're like checking in on me. And I finally got into her phone, cloned it on a random spare iPhone I had. And so we had a complete carbon copy of her iPhone. And then, yeah, that's when we found all the evidence. But yeah, but it was basically my business partner at the time. He was like, I think she's cheating, but I can't confirm it.
There's a lot of women that would pay for that service, but then they'd stay anyway. You know what I mean? They'd be like, here's the cheating, and they'll stay. God.
And to be fair, this was a long time ago. This was like 7 or 8 years ago. So like Apple's security is a lot better today than back then, but it was really like hilarious how relatively simple it was to get into people's phones back in the day.
Dang. Dustin super chatted, said just because Pearl is great. Dustin, you're too kind. Okay, do you want to tell them kind of an overview of how I told them you made a lot of money on the internet?
Yeah.
And just maybe an overview of how you did it, because I was like, I'm gonna tell you guys his
Just
life
like a quick
story.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and then
Like
we're gonna
lead
cut
into
it. We're gonna cut
get
it off
people
of
to-
YouTube after. But yeah, go ahead.
No, for sure. Yeah, so like for me, I was going to college. I did high school in India, but my parents are U.S. citizens. I was born and raised in California, and so when I was going to college in Irvine, they were trying to charge me international pricing, even though I'm clearly a U.S. citizen and my parents own like a home in San Diego and everything. So I went to college with this really big desire to make enough money to pay for it because I didn't want to go into student loan debt. And so I was trying to freelance web design while I was in school. I was a computer science and economics major. And basically, kind of by accident, like people would pay me, let's say $500 to build them a website, like let's say a party bus company. And what would end up happening is they would treat me like I was their full-time employee. So I'd build them a site and then they'd be like, no, I want it to look like this. I want the color to be sky blue. I want the font to be Comic Sans. And I was just getting super frustrated. And then ironically, that party bus client that paid me $500 one time, about 6 months goes by and he's bragging about how that website's now the #1 search term on Google for party buses in Santa Ana, California, and how he's just crushing life, right? Like he's like, dude, I did $20,000 in just new business thanks to that website. And I went, well, crap, I got screwed, right? I got paid $500 one time. And this guy's making 20 grand extra a month off something I did. And so what I realized is that, I should switch the model around and I should basically build these small business owners' websites for free, but then charge them for the leads and data that come from their sites. So basically do kind of what Facebook does with ads, where they give you this free product, but then, anytime you click on an ad or whatever, they get paid to be the middleman. Same thing kind of applied for me, where I was like, I'm going to tell businesses, I'm going to make them sign a hard contract, but basically I will do all the work for free. But only once they start getting new customers, I want a slice of that action. So it started out obviously slow because ranking on Google is slow, but I figured out all the ways to rank on Google. And then I ended up using like a voice over IP tracking number. But it got to a point where I was making about $7 grand a month passively in college. So, and what was cool is it was passive. Like I set up all the work, did it one time, but then every month, I didn't have to do anything anymore. And I was getting that money reoccurring. So that's kind of when the light bulb came off in my head. Like, first off, $7 grand a month's a lot, but like when you're in college and when you're 18 years old, it's like $1 trillion. So I basically decided to take the summer off and just go full time. And yeah, it turned from $6 grand to 20 grand a month. So before my 21st birthday, my net income was something like $240,000. And then, yeah, I never looked back. And I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, he's gonna go into more depth about how you can do that on theaudacitynetwork.com. So the link is in the description. We're gonna cut the paywall, or we're gonna cut the live on YouTube. So thank you everybody for tuning in. But he really knows his stuff, and you guys should definitely download the app and come on. And all you got to do is you log into your account, download the app, and then it's just on the main page of the website. You find the same live stream that is on YouTube, and boom, you're there. Tell me when we're cut on YouTube, and then we're going to let him go. We are? Not yet. No, not yet. Okay.